Hello, my name is Starla Henderson with Fronter House Quilts, and this is the quilt we're working on. This is the winter sampler. Today we're going to make our templates. So you're going to download this pattern from my website. It's free, and tape it together because of course it comes out your printer in all these different pieces of paper. And then you're going to have to remember to first trace it in reverse because you've got to do it backwards basically. So you're going to turn it over with a light box. You should be able to see it just fine, just like we've done in the past. And I used freezer paper in this one, but I have found a product that I like. The one thing about this technique I don't like is cutting away my back. Just don't like that. And a lot of people don't. There is a product out there called Wash Away Applique, and I just got it. And I'm just experimenting with it, but so far I really like it. You don't even have to wash it away. You don't have to take it out. It will soften over time. In fact, already in there it feels soft right after I did it. I just did a little test piece. You can get this I got mine off the internet because I couldn't find it in a local quilt store, but it's made by CNT Publishing. So check it out. And as you're marking your templates, whether you use this material or whether you use freezer paper, which is what I've done for this particular quilt this time, be sure to remember to mark, look at your pattern and figure out what order you want it to go in. And it really doesn't matter, just so long you remember to mark it, and mark it on your pattern, mark it on your template, both of them at the same time, so when it comes time for you to put this back together, you can do it, so without it driving you crazy. So now we're going to go and I'm going to show you how to do this. Thank you for joining me. Let's go make our templates. Alright, now we're ready to make our templates, and for this we're going to use freezer paper. I already talked to you about the new product just a few minutes ago, but you can do, if you use the new product, the applique papers, basically it's the same way, except you're not going to have to do the fusing of the freezer paper. It's just trace it in reverse, cut it out, and you're good to go. But if you're going to use the freezer paper method, which works too, you're going to start by first taking your pattern, which I've traced from after I've put my pattern together, after you've downloaded it and you put it together. I take it and trace it onto just a piece of paper, just like it's supposed to be. And then I turn it upside down, put it on, so you've got the reverse, and I take my freezer paper then and put on top of that, and that's how I get my reverse image. And then I trace it in pencil, and I do that on the other just because some of the things I've read online is that sometimes the ink, even though you've let it dry, has transferred to the fabric, and that's just, especially if you've got a light fabric, that's just upsetting. And pencil works great. So I do all of my tracing in pencil. And then I number these. So what I do is in the center, and it's really hard to see this, in the center you've got these 5 petals, and you've got all these petals coming around, so I just start in the very center, and it's A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, where they intersect. It doesn't really matter how you do it, just so that you get them in an order so you know what order you want to put them in whenever you put them back together. You need to mark it now. Don't do like I've done in the past and forget and then try to figure it out if you've got it all cut apart, because that's just very annoying. So mark it now, figure out how you want it to go together, and with this method you're gluing them together, so just so long you know what you're doing, and remember what's closest to you is going to be up on top, and the furthest is down. It's actually underneath, so it's layered just like any other applique. And also, one thing that I like to do as I look at this, I will look and I will see, overs and unders, and I will mark my unders with just little swooshy lines on my pattern, just so that as I'm putting it together, I know that anywhere where there's a swooshy line, as I call them here, I don't have to turn that piece. So you're going to mark all of these. Okay, once those are all marked, And you can do that for yourself, because with this you could take any pattern, most any pattern, some don't lend well to this, but many patterns, and go ahead and do this, and they may not be marked this way, so it's important for you to learn how. So we use 2 pieces of freezer paper for this technique because it doesn't allow you, when you're using the freezer paper, to pierce that freezer paper when you're sewing it together. And because if you do that, then you pull your stitches when you're pulling it out. So you have to get 2 pieces of freezer paper together, and the way that I have learned to do that is I've traced the pattern onto 1 piece of freezer paper on the paper side. Now I'm going to take another piece of freezer paper and I'm going to iron it first to my pressing surface. So I've got my iron heated up here, and I'm going to iron it down really well. And the reason, if you iron them together like this, the way I'm showing you, you don't have as many bubbles come up on what you're working on, and you just have to iron it really, really well. Take your time with this until it looks like it's all down and smooth. Then take the paper that you've got your pattern traced on, and your pattern, what you just ironed, is still going to be hot, so be careful. And then you're going to iron it to the paper. You're going to iron the pattern that you just traced, paper with a pattern, to the paper side of the one that you were tracing. And again, take your time. Wax down. Remember, freezer paper has one side that's paper and one side that's a kind of wax. So you're ironing both of these wax down. If you iron with the wax up, you'll know it, because it'll stick to your iron and really upset you, because then you have to go clean your iron. And once you've got this ironed in place really well, and you can tell that there's not any bubbles, while it's still hot, don't wait for it to cool down. While it's still hot, take an edge of it and pull it off of your pressing surface. And then you're ready to let it cool for just a few minutes, and then you can cut out your pieces. So for next week, you do this, and then very carefully cut on all of these lines, all your pieces out, and then you're ready for our next step, which is next week we will be making putting the fabric around these pieces. So that's all you do to trace your pattern and make your templates. Thank you for joining me. This is Starla Henderson with Fronter House Quilts. Be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube and check me out on Facebook. Thank you.